I look at how the loneliness is one of the biggest, that's a big killer for seniors. And we are not community-based like we used to. We don't go and check on like Mrs. Smith next door. And so I would encourage anyone listening, if you know a senior, and especially if they're single, they're like, if their spouse has passed, they are most likely very lonely. And even just having a conversation would kind of help, and would help them immensely.
Welcome, everyone. I'm Robbyn Battles, and this is another episode of I'm Just Saying. And I am so excited to get to the point with Lindsay Friedman. She is the founder of LTCareNav, and this is a site that is for free long-term care vetted planning for families. Lindsay, tell us more about what that is all about.
First, thank you so much for having me on your show. Now, so what we do is we actually help families understand what kind of care they're going to need as they age, what that care is going to cost, and really explore ways of how to pay for the care. Because if you're early enough and you're really thinking about it ahead of time, there's so many wonderful tools out there that can help you afford your long-term care. Or if you're a little later, or if it looks necessary, there's really some beautiful ways to end up on Medicaid and to protect your assets. So we help you understand all of those things. And then, in my opinion, the thing that we do that is the most beautiful is we actually help connect you to the people who can help you make sure you're making the right decisions. Because these are big decisions. They are hard decisions. And really having access to experts, it will be so vital as you age. And to never make a decision during crisis and you have these people right there to help you will completely change how you face the last decades of your life.
So who is helping? Who's the first person to call you saying, I need help? Is it the senior? Is it the family member? Who's making that call? And then I'll follow it.
Okay. So as of right now, it's really adult children. And it is usually adult children who are now caring for their parents, who've had this experience, who see deterioration or getting overwhelmed and realize that as much as they were hoping that they could keep mom, dad home, they really see that the cost of this, the cost not just for the care, but for missing work, all of these things that play into it is really weighing on them. So today, it really is these caregivers. What I'm hoping we start to see is that these adult children who are now caring for their family members stand up and say, this was a lot on me, and I'm going to make a good plan so I have an easier time as I age, and so my children have an easier time.
That's a super, super point. As you look around and you look at this aging population, I always mess up this stat, but it's something to the effect 40% of our population is going to be seniors over the next 20, 30 years. And if you look around at the care for our seniors, it's pretty minimal and it's horribly expensive, especially if they want something that has not even a lot of amenities, just kind of basic care. And I kind of feel like they are the forgotten group of people. And the stress I have so many clients that they're the adult children and they're like, what are we doing? And how are we selling the house? How are we handling all of this? And they feel bad. So you're a perfect resource for anyone that knows that has aging parents, is really what you're saying. So tell me how you start.
So a family comes to us and we make it really easy to get an idea of what it looks like because we know that people are nervous about their data. And we really want people to feel comfortable with us and see the value before you feel like you're giving us too much information. So we really have 6 questions that put you into buckets. So you give us a care score. We really walk you through a couple things. It takes a minute, less than a minute to get a assessment. And you get a really good idea of where you're going to fall. And then, and we create your care team right at that point. So you never have to give us any more data if you don't feel comfortable. But what
Wow.
we hope is that we really earn your trust because we are here to help. We have all of HIPAA and privacy. We respect all of that. And we want you to see the value, and you can start to dig in on each topic at a time, be it health, be it a financial piece, to really understand and get a very accurate, clear picture. And we have been told by families that have used our site that they had actually done a financial plan, and this was matched almost identically. And their financial plan was thousands of dollars, and this was free.
So your whole site, so I can basically go on your site and I did click around just a little bit and I'm like, okay, this is cool. I don't want to go too far because then I'm telling the story and I want you to tell the story. So how soon should my mom is not doing great? How soon should I have started or should I start planning that?
It's funny because people in our industry, like the big answer is yesterday or 5 years ago.
Right.
And there's really no too early. And that's really where the education comes to it, as I'm almost 50 and I have my plan, and like my husband and I have talked through what that looks like. And in the if this, then that. And like you have to have hard conversations. He's 5.5 years older than me, and I'm way healthier lifestyle. So I've said to him, I'm
Me
like,
too.
listen, I know. I'm like, you eat a lot of hamburgers. So with this, if something happens to you, this is what I want. And how are we going to make sure that's available to me, or what do you want? And we've had these conversations at 50. And these are when they really matter, because I want to make sure that I get to go to that assisted living down the street that I really like. It's real expensive.
You go tour assisted living facilities for fun. I want to live there. I don't want to live over here. You're house hunting your senior living. That's funny.
Oh, I have it all picked out and it's pretty expensive. So we have to plan for this.
So, okay, so I hear you saying that you shouldn't be planning 5 years ago for your parents. It's like you're gonna have to hustle on that if you're planning for your parents. But people we're in our 40s, 50s, 60s is probably too late. So I've missed the bus. I'm late. But planning for yourself. So you're in charge of the decisions that are being made.
Mhm.
And then when it happens, whatever happens, you know that you're the one responsible for the good or the bad. Is that-
Absolutely. And I think there is some fear of, if I plan, it means I am going somewhere. For a lot of people, they want to stay at home, right? And what planning should look like, when you make a plan, it should be like, I am making these decisions. I am going to have the autonomy. I am going to tell my children I'm making them, and I'm going to not just say, this is what I want, but it also takes the burden off of them. And when you start to get further along, it will save the family dynamics. You will see children will argue over this to no extent, like little things. You will make everything, your whole family dynamic, and will be just so much better when you really start to dive into what you want, because then it's your choice.
That's a really good point. It's hard to get people to understand that, they'll plan for 2 years to take their trip around the world. They'll plan all these great trips, but the most important trip is who's going to take care of me if I get really sick and old. And the odds are you get old and then some ailment for most people takes them out of their home and puts them in a facility. And I've watched this happen with so many families and their parents. And let's talk about the stress that it puts on. And especially when family members are trying to make this decision because they haven't planned. What's their first course of action after they've gone on your site and talked to you? What next?
So we actually direct to experts, because I'm by no means an expert across the continuum. Like we built something that gives you a really great idea. I'm a senior care advisor, but I've definitely been more in the space of caregiving, like hands-on caregiving. I really say the most important thing is to talk to someone when we identify the area you need help. if it is financial, you find a good fit to help you really navigate these decisions. And there's a lot to be made. There are really just a lot of options to help, and really finding the right person to assist you is going to be key to making sure everything works out well.
So you found all these people and you have tell me a little bit more about the vetting process and how you find all these different people.
So I've been in this space for a really long time. Actually, I started as a caregiver right out of high school.
Oh, that's harsh.
Yeah.
That's very hard.
Yeah. So this has been the place I've lived. So I've got really wonderful connections, and I know a lot of people in the industry. And so my vetting process has literally been like you and me having an interview. And it's much more dynamic. I am not taking just intake forms. This is true conversations. We're starting to release a podcast series where you can actually see my interviews with these people that I've spoken to. So now it's not just that I'm telling you I vetted them, you can actually see these conversations. I think it's really important to families to know the questions I ask, to get comfortable, to hear what their area of expertise are, and also to see if it feels like a good family match for you. Does this feel like someone who you could work with? Because if not, then let us know and we find you somebody else. But I think so it is true vetted time, lots of time to make sure I'm picking good people.
It's interesting. I love the idea that you're showing us basically in real time who these people are, what they say. And I'm going to be curious to watch, because I will watch this and I will refer people to your podcast. I think it's a brilliant idea. I think in the world of podcasts, don't you feel it's so much easier to talk about what you do and how you do it? And it's just so simple and it's easy and it's free. And I think free is the key word, especially when you're talking seniors in care. How many people do you talk to where you're like, no, what's your red flag?
So some of it is just a gut feeling. I really need to believe that, one, that they have a good reputation, right? So I'm doing the research on their actual company. And if I get the heebie-jeebies from somebody, if I get the least bit of a feeling that you are out for something other than the greater good of serving elders, then it's not going to be a fit. And you can answer in questions of like, why did you get into this? And a big thing for me is understanding their real personal motivation. If it's, I heard there's a lot of money to be made in care. Okay.
Yeah.
They're
Okay. It seems like no matter what the industry is, when people have a comment to that effect, it's okay. I see who comes first and it's you, it's not them. And so tell me a story, because I love stories. Tell me a short story. Get to the point, right? My little tagline is get to the point. Tell me a brief story about someone when you were not in this position of founding this company. What happened where you went, I don't want this to happen to somebody ever again? Did something trigger you?
So nothing I'd experienced personally or professionally, because I've been very fortunate to choose organizations that I believed in when I've been working. There are a lot of cases where things happen. Fraud and scams against seniors is huge. I think here's one that is personal, but it didn't end up being the end of the world. My grandma got a call from somebody, and this was years ago, so it was a phone call from somebody who said she won the lottery somewhere.
Okay.
Okay. And all she had to do was just send them like $250
Because
to
she
get her
get her
winnings.
money.
And so luckily it was like not the end of the world, but more than the $250, my grandma was super disappointed that she didn't win the lottery. But, and you can laugh at that because it's a small amount, but
And no one really got hurt. And no one really got hurt.
yeah, but I think there was a banker here in Ohio just recently in Cleveland who walked away with $2 million from seniors who just scamming them. And it was just in the news somewhat recently. happen.
And by you saying Ohio, I don't want listeners and viewers to think, oh, she's in Ohio, this won't work for me. That's where she lives, but your company is placing and advising in all the different states. You connect. That's the network that you have set up.
Yes, and we have a really big data bank. We've really dove into Medicaid is state by state. So we offer advice on Medicaid based off of the state requirements. We really help you understand based off of your states. When you start to understand cost of care or what it looks like, our recommendations are based off of what is available in your state because care is very different and what is covered under either Medicaid or even just how you enter assisted living is very different in each state. So we really dive into that. And we are actually getting ready to go down to the nitty gritty of counties and really helping you understand what's available in your county. So when you give us your zip code, we're able to really advise you to what you can find county wise because there's a lot of services that most people don't know are available.
When you are vetting your different services, do you have any kind of service that, let's say I'm calling about my mom, and my mom, like, she's fighting me on everything. She's, she just doesn't want to do anything, and she's really sick and she doesn't want to go. What person could I be referred to just help me start handling that?
And especially when that comes to just you, there are several caregiver support folks where that's what they do. They are advisors on caregiving, how to address things like that, different things that come up, support for the caregiver. And we actually have several of those people on the portal who really can help you understand where you're at, what you need to focus on. Some of them even really help you figure out how to better turn or better toilet. There's a lot of tips and tricks. So we have partnered with people that help along that way as well.
Talk to me about different levels of care and what people, like, you tell me assisted living, I think, oh, they're just enjoying life. I don't know that that's actually true. Tell me what those different, and then when you get into that, how does everybody pay for those different levels of care?
Out of
Not into the weed, but just kind of an overview, because everyone, like you said, every state is so different and every case is going to be different.
Yeah. So most people, when you think of the ideal situation, most seniors say, I want to stay home. And staying home care, there's home care and then there's home health. Home health kind of does more medical kind of things. A lot of times that's covered by Medicare because it's prescribed by a doctor. I need an injection. I need an IV treatment. I need wound care. So those are usually covered. It's when we start to get into toileting, turning, bathing, food prep, medication reminders, companionship, that's home care. And that most likely is not covered. There are some states that do have waivers for Medicaid that can help with that. A lot of veterans benefits can help, but home care is typically out of pocket. And I think the national average is like $30 an hour.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Tell me why our systems haven't caught up with the aging process. I feel like the aging process is like the food pyramid. It's like we're telling you all the wrong things and we're not preparing you. Now you're in bad health. And now here's seniors. They're in bad health. There's been no planning, but now there's not enough to care for them. There's not enough information for them. There's not enough facilities for them. How is that changing? Do you see it change?
It's going to have to change. The answer is the system is not built to sustain what is going to be happening with the silver tsunami as the baby boomers age is what they call it. I think the system was never really built for this because if you look at longevity today versus 10 years ago or even 20 years ago, it wasn't that. We didn't have people who were living into their 90s or hundreds. So the amount of care people needed was much smaller. We also, I think, were much like closer knit families. People were really, okay, mom will come live with me or I'm living with mom. So our social dynamics have changed. And I think those are two of the big things that we're facing in society today. is there's going to be too many people living too long. Nobody prepared for retirement. Like we prepare for retirement, right? You think, what am I going to need? I'm no longer working, but you don't prepare for what's that care look like. And it wasn't as necessary. Something's going to have to give. I don't know what the solution's going to be as a whole because the system's going to collapse. We don't have enough caregivers. Families are too stressed. There's both mom and dad, both adult children, like are typically working now, I think is also a big change. And you need the 2-income household. So I think our system is just in this like perfect storm.
I
Wow.
feel as if there's not even enough facilities available to take care of our seniors. And I housing is my background because it's real estate. And I look at they want to build all this new affordable housing, but nobody's addressing families aren't we don't have as many kids. But what senior wants to go live in a 5, 7, 80, 120 unit building that barely has windows and a balcony and no grass, and you're secluded. You're just sitting there in the back, and no one knows what happens to you. I feel like they've been just dismissed.
Absolutely. In every aspect, I think, really, of this end of stage life, we've, as a society, we've forgotten about them. I look at how the loneliness is one of the biggest, that's a big killer for seniors. And we are not community based like we used to. We don't go and check on like Mrs. Smith next door. And so I would encourage anyone listening, if you know a senior, and especially if they're single, they're like, if their spouse has passed, they are most likely very lonely. And even just having a conversation would kind of help and would help them immensely, but also would help you understand, is this person failing? Are they safe at home? I think we need to step up neighbor to neighbor, and we're just not doing that right now.
I think that's a really good point, because if you look at neighborhoods in general, people don't even know their neighbors, even if when they're in their 30s or their 40s. The kids barely know the kids on the blocks. And so now you have welfare checks. If you know that you haven't seen your neighbor down the street or something like that, that's few and far between. But there really is not a homebound support system for seniors, which is, it's very sad. It's really sad. Tell me about something that is on your site or in your services, or a service that people forget to ask about that's really important that we're not touching on yet.
And this is going to be an interesting one. So there's things called funeral trusts.
I've
And it's,
never heard of that. A funeral
yeah,
trust?
yeah,
Okay.
it's a great way to protect assets, especially if you're going to end up on Medicaid. Funeral trusts will allow you to put, depending on your state, like $17,000, $15,000, $20,000 away for your funeral that you can do right before going on Medicaid. It's like exempt from the look back. So it's a really beautiful tool to plan for that end of life piece to make sure that's not a burden on your family. And just like funeral trusts, there's a lot of tools in the financial world that you don't think of or you've not heard of that can really help, that go beyond the idea of long-term care insurance, which if it's a good fit for you, that's great, but there's other options. And I want people to know about these options because there's a lot of ways to protect assets from what your care is going to cost.
A funeral trust. I like that. I mean, it's kind of a morbid kind of comment,
It's
but I mean,
grim, but
like, do you also feel people are afraid? I talked to a financial planner the other day and I said, why does it seem like people are so afraid to address their money? And I feel that your business is similar. Like, people don't want to address the fact, hey, I'm getting old. This isn't going to work. We've got to change something.
I think there's something about aging in general people don't want to address, that they don't address long-term care. I also think that when you start to look at it, it's scary. When you start to say, I'm not going to be able to afford that, that's like a scary place to be. And now you have to sit in that fear. Whereas if you just pretend it's not happening, it doesn't hit you till it is, till it's there. So I think there's that kind of mindset. But I encourage people because there's so many options, including options of I can't really afford it. What can I do? And those options are only available, again, if you plan ahead.
How do you stop, or has this ever happened? The kids call because mom or dad are not doing well, but they really don't have mom and dad's best interest in mind. You're smiling like as I'm like, I think I hit on something there. How do you navigate that?
Carefully. And it depends who your client is. How about that?
Yeah.
It's hard. I I fielded calls. I remember I had this one woman who called me and she had to do something with her mom. And she said, I don't like her. I can't stand her. I don't want to put any money to this. What can I do?
Okay, so first of all, at least
Yeah.
she was honest.
Yes.
I mean, she was honest about it. And I okay, so and then
And then I said, what is she willing to do? And she goes, nothing. I go, are you willing to step in and have conversations with her? She's like, no. I'm like, then there are going to be situations where family isn't involved, where you can't make the senior do something. And family dynamics will play into these decisions. And there are some families that might just have to struggle till the end when you get in those kind of situations where the kids don't have the best intentions. And for the senior, what could have been avoided is if they made their own decisions and their own plan, then they didn't have to worry about their kid not having the best intentions.
do you ever have an opportunity? So the kids call and maybe it's not going quite the way the kids thought it should go. Do you ever engage with the actual senior when these decisions are being made?
So that goes back to who's the client. So when it comes to being a senior care advisor, it's who's your client. Where's your fiduciary duty? So that's a hard one to answer. I don't spend a lot of time in that kind of role. I told you I take that care role. So
Right.
I try to always have my focus be on the elder because that's just the roles I've chosen to take over the years.
Okay, that makes sense. What have I not asked you that is super important for people to know?
I think we've hit on it. The most important thing's the planning, but that there are options and to take it one day at a time. And you can build you can build your plan really slowly. Your plan can change. It's not set in stone. And just to remember that the better outcomes come when you are in charge. So make sure you can keep your autonomy.
I think that's great advice. So, if our viewers want to get in touch with you, what's the best way? What's an website? What's an email? What's all the good stuff?
Okay. So I would go, if you can put the link below for LTCareNav.com/podcast.
Okay.
We're giving away a free ebook on
Okay.
long-term care planning. And we didn't really touch on it, but I have another company called Care Bloom where it's a caregiver support tool. And we help families age in place longer. And there's a discount code for that company for that product as well.
And it's okay. Tell me because we've got a minute.
Okay.
So while I've got you, so Care Bloom, explain that a little bit more. Tell me some details.
It's a virtual monitoring device. Lets you be eyes and ears on your loved one when you're not home. So the idea is we can tell you everything they're doing without a camera. We use a sensor and a smartwatch, and we really try to understand where failure might happen in the caregiving journey, changes in behaviors. So we allow your loved one to stay at home longer and give them independence as long as they can, because that's really everybody's goal.
That's a remarkable product. I need that for my mom. I can,
Yeah.
I need to track her and see what she's doing. But that's in a good, it's in a good way. It's in a good way. And it's not invasive. It's not a camera watching her, which I think people say, oh, I'm just going to put a camera on mom. And I'm like, boy, if I put a camera on my mom, she'd become my mom again. And I'd be in trouble and in the corner if I did something like that. But the monitoring it's much different than just having that little monitor where you push the button if somebody gets in trouble, right?
Oh, yeah. No, we tell you if they got out of bed in the morning, if they went and ate their food, if they took their medicine, if they took a shower. So it's really personalized. There's a lot of settings that the families can control to see what they want to be notified about.
So
Uh,
if you I just think in a techie world, so both of my in-laws, I'll go personal for a second, both of my in-laws in their 90s, I won't tell you everything that's wrong with them, but they insist that they stay at home together to take care of each other. And one is getting very bad dementia. So you can imagine the scene at home. Could you put both of them on a Care Bloom device and be able to monitor both of them at the same time?
Yep.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So
Tell me the website for that again. How do we that?
carebloom.com.
Okay.
And if you go to the LTCareNav.com/podcast, we're giving away 25% off each month.
Wow, that's amazing. Okay, give me one more time all of your contact information, because now we'll wrap it up. But that was fantastic information there at the end. It's all been great information. I hope people will get back on, take notes, and we'll send you a copy of this when it's done. But it's fabulous information.
It really is. I think it's really important for people to truly understand. And hopefully, as the years come, we're going to take control of aging. It's not going to be quite the chaotic scene it is. And that's my big goal with everybody.
I think that's a fantastic goal. Yeah. What's your email?
Lindsay@LTCareNav.com.
Okay. And make sure they spell it right. Because it's I spell it Landsey, and I had to correct every time I wanted to email you. I'm like, nope, that's the wrong spelling.
Yeah, it's Lindsay.
Perfect. Thank you so much for your time. You got to so many good points. I'm really excited that we had this chance to chat.
Me too. Thank you so much.
I'm Robbyn Battles, and I'm just saying, I want to thank you for listening. I hope you'll come back for future episodes, and be sure to like, share, and follow. I'm just saying, let's get to the point. I'm Robbyn Battles.